Hello, I'm Brittany Rizzo, and welcome to My Only Friends. On today's episode, you'll meet Cameron Cowperthwaite. Cameron is an actor recently starring in American Horror Stories, 911 Lone Star, and Netflix's hit show Dahmer. This episode reminds me of the Friends episode, the one with Rachel's dream. Joey reluctantly invites Rachel to the set of Days of Our Lives, where Rachel is audibly excited about getting to see all the behind the scenes. Cam and I talk about how invested we get when watching a movie and how it's probably not enjoyable to watch movies with either one of us because of it. Cameron is incredibly talented and definitely one to watch. We truly had so much fun in this interview and got to know one another better, and I'm grateful to call him a friend. Please enjoy my conversation with Cameron Cowperthwaite. What's going on? How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing? This is so cool. I love that you're doing this.
Thank you. I know. I remember telling you about it. And now you're on it.
I know, I think it was like Lord of the Rings that spawned it, right? Spawned the journey.
Yes, it did. It did. And now it's so funny because so many people send me Lord of the Rings memes and videos now.
I love that.
Yeah, it's so weird because I'm not the world's biggest Lord of the Rings fan, but I think I just had so much fun watching it that and people got a really big kick out of me watching it because it's not something I would ever choose to actually watch on my own. And I think that's why I really love doing this podcast, because it's definitely gotten
a good idea.
Thank you.
It really is, because I think sometimes I get the recommendation of something from a friend and I'm always like, yeah, I'll get to it. But if you know that you were going to talk to somebody about something specifically, it lends itself to the idea of, oh shit, I better watch this right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause you're and that's what's so weird is that I feel I do this with friends and it's only happened once in my entire life. I feel like I'm going to be quizzed. I'm going to go on a talk show eventually. And they're like, so we hear you're a Friends fan. And they're going to ask me the most ridiculous trivia. And if I get it wrong, my entire life is a lie. So
that's like a waking nightmare for me.
Oh, it is. It probably adds to my anxiety more. But literally my friend was on a date with a guy and he was he says he's the biggest Friends fan. And I was like, let's go. So we were texting each other questions to ask the other person. And I stumped him multiple times. And I was like, yes, this is what I live for.
Did you get stumped? Or were you flying? No. Oh, there you go. I would carry that with me forever. That's a badge of honor.
It truly is. Not that well educated in a lot of other things, but let me tell you, I know what the hospital is in the background of Friends. Exactly.
Yeah, just the stuff that really, really matters.
How are you? What's going on?
I'm doing okay. I think it's Easter.
Yeah, happy Easter. I forgot.
Happy Easter. I forgot as well. Literally, when you texted me, oh, by the way, it's Easter. I was like, oh. Yeah. A little bit, which I feel kind of bad about because my roommate just left to go be with his family. I mean, my family's not out here, luckily, so I don't really have the same kind of obligations that people would have if they have their family in the same zip code.
Right.
But also, I have to be honest, being outside of school, I don't know what day it is.
Oh, same.
I feel in school, I was like, oh, this is when I'm going to have off of school. This is going to be a half day. This is a full day off. I knew, you know what I mean? You're looking forward to those holidays unless you loved being at school. And I'm the weirdo for saying this, but now without that kind of scheduling, I literally was I forgot it was Easter until 3 people reminded me.
Yeah. That's my mom was like, what are you doing today? And I was like, nothing. She's like, who does a podcast on Easter? And I was like, Mom,
us.
Yeah,
we do.
I don't know what to tell you. We don't have, a lot of my friends don't have kids. We're not putting together Easter egg hunts.
No.
Sorry. Although an adult Easter egg hunt would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Now that literally my mind went, now that you said that, I was like, oh, wait, should we do that?
Put some gummies in the Easter eggs and
yeah, very California Easter.
$2 or something. We'd be all stoked.
I would be. So it would, it would get competitive on the who had more eggs. I could see it spiraling out of control.
For sure. Wait, so your family's not here. Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Wilmington, Delaware. It's about 20 minutes south of Philly. I say the Philly area because it's essentially my backyard. I'm a suburb of the city, just over the state line. My sister lives in Philly though, and my aunt lives in Philly, and I spend a lot of time in Philly growing up, but I'm technically from the suburbs outside of it.
Oh, nice. And okay, so basic question, like, how did you end up in LA? Like, what made you, where did you go to school? Because
I went to the University of Delaware, and I was originally I was going to be a physician's assistant.
Oh, wow.
So I was like in like a medical, like biology kind of major.
Wow.
Yeah. And then they forced, like, I guess to be a well-rounded student, quote unquote, they force you to take like these other elective classes. So I guess like literary people would have to take science classes, or in my case, science people would have to take like lit or history or theater. And I took a theater course, and the Delaware Rep Theater. So we're about like 2.5 hours south of New York City. So the Rep program actually gathered a lot of like wonderful actors from Broadway, off Broadway, anything that was a touring program after it had done its Broadway stint would pass through the Delaware Rep Theater at some point on its journey around the country. So the plays ended up being really fucking good, like really good. Like in comparison to watching a Broadway production, there wasn't that much difference.
Right.
And I saw a bunch of plays there that I had to like kind of quote unquote write papers on, but not really. I mean, the class was so easy. It was sort of a joke, but I loved getting out to see the plays. And I was working to get volunteer hours, because to go to graduate school, you have to accrue all these volunteer hours in an office or an ER or some doctor's sanction, whatever. And I was kind of procrastinating and putting it off, and it got to a point where all the slots had been taken. So I had to hit up like my friend's mom, who was a nurse at a children's hospital. And she worked in the oncology department, which is like children with cancer. And I was there I was supposed to be there all summer. I think I was there about like 48 hours.
You were like, what?
It was the like scariest, heart-stopping experience to like see all that. And it was interesting that I was taking these theater courses at the same time. And I kind of always knew I loved this stuff because my mom's a script supervisor. My dad and my mom met at the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, which you think Alabama, but it's the biggest second, at least at the time they were there. It was the second biggest Shakespeare festival next to the Edinburgh one. So I knew this was a job, and like I always loved going to the movies with my dad. We did like every weekend. We went to plays on Broadway. My mom worked on sets like that, visiting her at work. Like I knew the whole world of it, and I was always kind of impassioned by film and television and theater and all that kind of stuff. And then when this perfect storm of watching these plays live and doing this job that I hated and kind of sobered me up to reality. And the fact that life is short. So I graduated and thought I gotta go for this. And I did some modeling in New York because I thought that that's how people did it. I was kind of going off of Mark Wahlberg or anybody that I was watching at the time. I would kind of Google their career and be like, how did they get started? And a couple of people like I think Channing Tatum, Mark Wahlberg, and then, a fair amount of others. I was like, okay, I can go my mom lives in New York. I'll go live with my mom for a little bit. I'll do this modeling thing, and then I'll become an actor. And so not how it goes. And I took the pictures though, and the modeling world was vapid and horrible, and I hated it. So I was kind of miserable for a second, but my mom being my mom, as all mothers would, she got my photos. So she was like, oh my God, look at my son, like, walking around work, like, look at these pictures, as any mother like would with their kid.
Yeah.
And the head of makeup on 30 Rock at the time, because that's the job she was working on, has a sister named Ro Diamond, who's an agent in LA. And I think I hadn't graduated from college yet. I was like a year out. It was like over the summer I was doing this. So I think I was 19 maybe. And her sister sent the photos that my mom showed her to her, and Rose sent me like a self-tape before self-taping was the thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't know anything, and there was no room in Delaware for me to go into. It's because she's LA based. But I put this audition on tape for Supernatural was doing a spin-off show, and they were casting a pilot, and I put myself on tape, and then I got a call back and some notes, and then I retaped it. And then the producers were like, oh, we're testing this actor, but if it doesn't work, we want you to come to LA and read for this in person. And I was like, oh, this is so easy. Like everybody was always saying acting is the hardest thing ever. And I'm like, it's not until you start doing it that you go, oh yeah, okay, this is really, really hard. But for a first stint, I'm thinking, man, I don't know why people are complaining. And then and so I didn't end up getting that job. That job didn't go any further, but Ro was like, if you're ever out here or you actually make this move, look me up. I graduated college. I had a friend one of my best friends out here, I met at college. He's a writer in comedy, and that was his dream. And he's chasing that same goal, the same as all of us are. And we packed up a car on the East Coast and drove all the way to LA, both of us, not really knowing anybody. And I looked her up and I was like, hey, I'm here. And she was like, no.
Hey, I'm here. Make me a star.
I was like, hey, I'm here. Let's go. And she was like, no shit. And and she put me in an acting class to really kind of hone the craft, because she was like, you've got some raw energy going on. Let's really kind of concentrate that down. And she's still my agent now.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah, I've only had one, I think, which is such a rare occurrence, it seems like. And she's the best. She's been like a kind of like a second mom out here.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
When you were growing up, who was the person? Well, I guess you said Channing Tatum, but was there like a specific moment you were like, that's what I want to do?
Honestly, when I saw, like, I think if anybody had like a project, like it was when we were talking about, what projects I like to bring on to the show that you're doing. V for Vendetta was absolutely like the movie that I saw in 2005. I think I was in 7th grade. And I was like, whoa, I laughed, cried, was moved, was questioning things. Cause essentially the film takes place in this, it's sort of scary how timeless the movie is, because it's essentially taking place in a futuristic London that is run by a dictatorship. They've lost their democratic stance. And
see, that just sounds scary to me.
Yeah. Kind of like when, Trump got elected, you were kind of like, wow, V for Vendetta, timeless, you know, but it was such a moving piece of art. And the language, the character is this really rambunctious. He wears a Guy Fawkes mask, which I happened to write a research paper on after I saw the movie. I wrote a research paper in school, like in my history class, on Guy Fawkes and his gunpowder plot that the character kind of bases his whole mission on, to destroy the tyranny in London at the time. And he quotes Shakespeare, and he speaks in rhythmic tones, and it was just the most rambunctiously wild, beautiful film. I was so impressionistic as a kid, because you're like, oh my God, it's so vast on this huge screen. And I thought, oh man, if I could ever be in a movie like that, I would have, succeeded.
Right.
And then as you get older and like you start to kind of dive more into it, you get more inspired by people's performances or their choices or books you read. But like that was like the kid moment where I was like, oh my goodness.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of scary, because, well, first of all, I couldn't find V for Vendetta anywhere. And then I watched might
have stressed you out.
Well, I watched 20 seconds of the trailer and I was like, oh, hell no. Like, no, I am such a baby. And even watching you and your stuff, I was like, I'm going to pass out.
Oh God.
And I was like, oh my God, I don't like this. I'm going to pass out. So
that's so funny.
Do you like scary stuff? Do you watch?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, I do. Well, and on the day, it's so funny that there's a lot of people that say that, and each shows, I think, each show has a different level of how exhausting it is to watch, but it's so funny because my sister I don't think my sister has seen, I don't want to speak in absolutes and use the word anything, but she is similar to you. She just can't do it. It's just too stressful to watch scary things. She does not want to go there mentally. She just doesn't want to do it. So she's always sending me supportive texts and saying, my friends are watching. I heard it was not half bad. Congrats. But she herself has never sat down and watched it either. So I think that's so funny that you feel the same way. My sister is absolutely in your team.
I was just like, okay, even watching, so you were on 911 and that was 911 Lone Star. That was so good. Yeah. And you are very intriguing to watch. Like,
thank you. That's so kind of you to say.
Of course. Like, that's not a show that I would typically watch because it's nothing but anxiety situations for me. And I was watching you and I was like, oh, I want a whole show on this guy. Like, I want to watch this whole storyline. And I was like so into it. And it is really weird to see. I sound like such an idiot because I'm like, wow, like you're so nice in person. Then you're playing such a crazy person. Like, oh, acting. Like,
no, honestly, I
like
think
it's so funny. It's so good to like, it's crazy to see when it's people you know and like have met in real life.
I feel the same way.
And I'm like, how are they playing such a fucking psychopath? Like, does that mean they really are a psychopath? Like,
yeah, just closeted. My greatest performance is tricking everybody that I'm a kind, gentle soul.
I'm scared.
Yeah, right. But it was interesting because when I like would meet other actors when I visit my mom at work or something like that, the people that were playing nut jobs were always the kindest, gentlest, most patient, looked you in the eye, asked you how you were doing type of people ever.
Yeah.
It's so wild how that translates in some oddity. I don't know what it is, but I have found that more often than not, the psycho character is like the sweetest, most gentle person.
Yeah, I mean, most serial killers are charming. So
yeah, they're just smiling all the time. I don't know what it is. I don't know. So
that leads me into Dahmer, which I mean, I'm sure you've talked about this a lot, but I really want to talk to you about it.
Because I love talking about that show because I think that's one of my prouder. I mean, I'm happy. I'm so grateful for every opportunity I've ever been given or had or been blessed with. But that one was one of the first times where I felt like, whoa, I'm a part of something that's really, really good. Like really good. Like I felt how you felt. I mean, I'm in episode 3 and 4. And I remember sitting down with Caroline and my roommates to watch the show, and we watched the pilot and all of us went, I think we need to take a bit of a break.
Yeah.
Here. Like just so stressed out.
Yeah.
But everybody did such a wonderful job.
Yeah. Tell me about what it was like because your scene with Evan is so like intimate and physical and oh my God, like so much tension. When you're going into that moment, what are you thinking?
First off, like I don't know about other actors, but like I get so nervous.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I was like. My heart would be pounding out of my chest. Like, oh, I better not fuck this up.
Oh yeah, always. Doesn't matter. It could be the biggest piece of shit ever on the planet. It wouldn't matter. My palms would be sweaty on. I better do my job and try to win an Academy Award right now. You know what I mean? And I think with this, which is the silliest thing, but I think we all just, anybody who's doing this, I think really cares. I mean, obviously there are people that want to be famous and that's its own conversation, but I do believe that a lot of the people that have made the sacrifices, have left their families, have moved across the country, have given things up, have missed birthdays, funerals, weddings, whatever, to do this, really care about doing it and being there. And I think that what this one felt like that was more nerve-wracking than most was that it's true. These are real people. This is like it's really happened, you know? And the interesting thing about that was when I walked on the set, it was incredibly somber, very heavy, like set. Like sometimes, you know what I mean? When you're shooting American Horror Story, like it's fun. Like, yeah, it's scary and it's dark, but like it's fun as shit. You know what I mean? We're doing ridiculous stuff. We're wearing clown masks or like whatever, you know, and the set is like funnier or more jocular in between takes. But this one was not that at all. So like you felt like, so when I first stepped on, I was like, oh man, this is heavy. People are speaking like in a lower register.
Oh, see,
very quiet.
And that would trigger me to be like, Dahmer, party of 5, your table's now available.
Oh
like,
my God. Yeah. Yeah. You're kind of
have to crack a joke. I would have to do something because I'm like, I can't take it.
Yeah, I think I did that very thing. I think I cracked the joke and it just like, I don't think it landed. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna shut up. But I am that way. Like I do find like some people kind of absorb that energy. Some people go against the grain on it. I think it's important to kind of, at least for me as an actor, it's important to like be in the headspace. And then also like, you better like come out of it, shake it off, like get your energy levels back and then come back into the scene. Or you can kind of, I think sometimes take on this mood.
Right.
Where you're like, we're doing something really important. And I think that's when you actually like fuck it up.
Yeah.
I think sometimes there's got to be a little like, yes, this is real and yes, this is important, but we also have to like honor the scene that's been written today. You know, if there's a joke in the scene or something that's supposed to be charming or funny, even though this is a dark show, like we have to honor that, you know? So it was so like, it was also like that, you know, it's so well written and you're just kind of swept up in the whole vastness of it. When I walked on, we were shooting in this house that they had location scouted for Dahmer's childhood home, and the cars and the costumes, and it's just like, oh, you're teleported. I think period pieces are some of the most fun things because you are, when done well, you are transported in a matter of moments. When you get out of this 2020 Ford van and then you're walking into what is 1974, you know, it's just the coolest experience. I get so hyped on that kind of stuff.
Well, when you're doing, I guess it was a fight scene. You were fighting for your life. So tell me about, like, is there ever a moment you have to go, okay, this is not real? Like, if you get so in it, like I could imagine, like, because those scenes are intense. Like, yeah,
I think it's all very calculated, you know, there's a stunt coordinator and everything, but I was very adamant, and so was Evan, about doing everything because there's so much acting that's involved.
Right.
With that kind of stuff. And there was so much freedom on the set, which was interesting because not that there's not normally, but like a lot of stuff that made it into the scene or the show was like improv. Like Evan and I, like to your kind of question about like, what were you guys doing? Like we were kind of talking as the characters before action, and we were improving or doing different stuff. And like, we really kind of played with everything that was there. And the director gave us like total reign to do that. Like there's a lot of stuff in there that just was us tossing things at the wall. And then funny enough, with the ending sequence, originally I was just supposed to like be hit. I'm trying to remember this correctly. I was just supposed to be hit and then die. And then I think I just remember being like, there's no way I wouldn't struggle and like fight for like every last moment of trying to get the hell out of here. And interestingly enough, Evan and I kind of just went for it like randomly. It almost kind of happened organically in terms of like his performance opposite my own, because he was terrifying. Yeah. Like terrifying. Like I know Evan, and he is like the nicest, like funny, like always joking around, like just kind, gentle person. But his eyes were just different on the day. It was weird. You know what I mean? Like they were just blacker than normal. Ooh. And you're kind of just feeding off that energy. It was like, so I remember like he kind of came over and we'd shot it so many different ways. And I remember he came over and like he sat on me at one point and kind of looked down in this weird kind of creepy manner, like confused as what was going on. And I remember I like clawed at him and he kind of came back at me. And it was this whole exercise in trust because we didn't talk about this beforehand. It was actually kind of lovely having worked with him earlier on American Horror Story because we knew how the other person worked. Right. And we didn't have to like, hey, is this okay? Like, are you sure that I can, like, I was thinking maybe like we didn't do any of that. There was no talking. Wow. Like we went after each other in in an animalistic way because we trusted the other person. And I remember leaving set and being like, that was probably one of the greatest like acting experiences I've ever had. I love that. You're like, okay, let's do it again tomorrow. Yeah. And we did, you know. Yeah. That's so funny. That is beautiful. Yeah. That like makes me teary eyed because I feel like that's what we all like. That's the dream come true.
you know?
Yeah, it was like I remember thinking exactly what you said. I was like, I'm so enamored with everything about movies, and I get so literally I'm obsessed. All I do is watch behind the scenes videos or actor interviews or podcasts, or I read books on actors or memoirs or whatever. It doesn't like I'm voracious in wanting in the knowledge I want about it, and I'm so curious about how this was done or this was done. And I have such a romantic illusion sometimes of like how these scenes will play out in my mind. Like I've, like the audition you have on the way to the audition itself, which is never that. And then of course your best read is the audition on the car ride home, you know, you're like, oh my God, I should have done it that way. But this was like one of the first times where I was like, no, we left it. It is on camera somewhere. I don't know what they're going to use, but we left it all on the field. Like it was awesome. It was like really one of the coolest experiences. I'm so grateful that I got the chance to be in that show. And I'm so grateful that Ryan Murphy called me back to do it. It's just, I look at that as such a high echelon experience in my career.
Yeah. I mean, it is. And congratulations. I mean, obviously
a
lot of people loved it. I mean, I won't finish it, but
no, honestly, what's so funny to me is that it has so many hours viewed. I think it's like 2 billion or something at this point. But what cracks me up is I'm sort of like, who are the 2 billion? Because every friend that I have was like, hey man, I love you. No, I'm not watching that show, but I good for you. Like, I don't know anybody that was, oh yeah, can we watch it again? Which is, I find so funny because it really is some heavy viewing.
It's terrifying. And I have to fast forward through everything. Yeah. Even when I do watch shows that I really like I watched all of Ozark, but let me tell you, I fast forwarded through the entire episode first and saw it clip by clip on the bottom of the screen
to make sure you were safe.
Yeah. To be like, okay, so that's when this person dies and that's when that person dies. Nothing's going to surprise me. I love spoilers. I love them. I will look them up. I Googled who Gossip Girl was the first episode that I watched it. I was like, I'm not going through this. Why would I put myself through that?
Oh my God, that's so funny.
So it's like when I watched that, okay, but my one question, I was like, when he dragged you out of the house, what were you on? Because that looked like it hurt so bad.
I had pads in my little tiny little jean shorts
that like helped you slide.
Yeah. Okay. But I felt so bad for poor Evan because I'm not a huge person in terms of like, I feel like my own density, I feel like most people are like, see me and they go, why don't you just like eat something, man? Mm-hmm. But when you're playing dead,
you're just dead weight.
You're kind of just dead weight a little, which, and every time I felt so bad. We shot that. We must have done like 6 or 7 takes. And I think by take 4, Evan was like, Jesus Christ, man. It really was like, and it doesn't look as far on screen, but even I remember being like, man, I have to play dead for like quite a while. And then I remember going, Cam, that's the most selfish thing ever, as Evan is dragging you, and you can hear him going, which, I felt that after. Like, he would always slump down and be like, oh my God. You're so solid.
Funny. That is hilarious. I always told my parents when I was younger, I wanted to be on an episode of Law and Order, but like be the victim. So like have one little scene in the beginning and then like just like be the dead body and the pictures and everything. Cause I'm like, then I don't have to do anything. And the whole episode's about me. Like, it's great.
Yeah. You are winning. Like, we care about you and you're just chilling.
Yeah. Why not? That's so funny.
It is funny because I feel like I have to play dead so much now at this point. I'm always being killed off in some regard, so it's kind of funny that
I was thinking about that too. I'm like, what would the next type of role you'd want to play? What would be?
Oh, like if I could choose something?
Yeah. If you could choose, would you want to switch it up to comedy?
Yeah, literally. What's so funny when I was talking to Caroline about this the other day, and I remember when I was like 22 and 23, I wouldn't shit on comedies, I did like them for what they were, but I remember being like, no. We need to like lose 40 pounds and learn an accent. And that's what I want to do, you know? And it's so interesting that as I've gotten older now, I just would fucking love to be on New Girl.
Oh, I was just
like,
watching it
I know the show's not
that.
running, but man, oh man, would I like kill to be on an episode of New Girl.
Yeah.
That would be what I would want to do.
Well, we should let the audience know that you and Caroline are together. Caroline Henry, who was also on the show, and her show that she chose was New Girl.
I know. So, I remember when she chose it, and I thought, man, if I'm ever on this wonderful podcast with Brittany now, I don't get to choose New Girl. That son of a bitch.
You could absolutely still choose New Girl.
No, I'm kidding. She's the one who showed it to me. So she has full reign. She's got ownership over the fact that I remember I watched it with her first and I was like, whatever. And then we watched another one and I was like, wow, this is like really good. And then we watched another one and then I think by the fourth one we watched together, I was obsessed.
Who's your favorite?
Oh, Schmidt.
Yeah, Schmidt's the best.
Max Greenfield's delivery. I just don't know. I think I remember trying to find the pilot or something script, like the screenplay, because I remember watching it and going, and that's something I'll do sometimes. If I really love something, I will try to go find the screenplay and rewatch it with the screenplay, because it's a great way to kind of learn, like, how did they get there? Like Schmidt's cadence, I'm assuming is not written on that was my assumption when I was looking. Like, it's not written on the page. That actor read a normal line and thought, if I deliver it really, really quickly like this, like it's going to be funny. It's going to play this character, this kind of like anal retentive, OCD, very slick, put together human being would speak a certain way, but it also has to be grounded and fit in this eclectic world with Jake Johnson and Zooey Deschanel and all these other people. And man, oh man, did he ride a fine line and nail it.
Oh, for sure. I think he would have won every single award had it not been up against Big Bang Theory, that entire award season.
I agree with you.
It all should have gone to Max Greenfield, 100%.
Yeah, just like, and I watch it back, honestly. I think Caroline was talking about it on the podcast, if I'm remembering correctly. I can't remember if it was on the podcast or Caroline and I were just obsessed in real life. Yeah. But Jake Johnson also has some incredibly comedic, like, moments you would have thought, oh, lean into this. And then what he ended up doing was just throwing it away. And I remember going, wow, the confidence to just do nothing. Yeah. And not worry about being funny and then having it therefore be funny. I was like, what a masterclass. Yeah. On comedy acting.
True. And when you talk about, like, you would look up people's careers and how they would start, Jake Johnson was one for me. Like, after I watched New Girl and I listened to him on a couple podcasts, and he went to UCB and was doing this and doing that. So then I went to UCB and, like, I literally was like, I'm going to do everything he did. 'Cause that's the kind of career that
It's so smart.
Yeah. And I would love to, because he can still go to the grocery store and buy some groceries, and there's going to be like 4 or 5 people that go up to him like, oh my God, New Girl. But he's not like, you know, this huge mega celebrity where he can't walk down the street. And he also has like the most amazing sitcom career, and then these incredible like indie movies. And then,
I think he's fantastic. Truth, like, just so good. And speaking on his indie movie, Caroline and I were at South by and we saw his directorial debut.
Gosh. So jealous.
I did such a great job. Like, it's so cool to see someone like him, like, just exploding and then also kind of branching out. Yeah. So, you know, I think it's just so cool. Do you love doing UCB? Did you love doing it?
I did like it a lot. I miss it. It's one of those things where I went right before the pandemic, and then it was like, all right, I don't know if I'm getting back into there. I don't want to repeat anything over again. And
do you like improv? Is that your...
I do. I find that I think it just lets you have to be present, and I like being forced to be present, which is what this podcast does for me. And, you know, because if I'm sitting here thinking about my next question or being like, oh, what time is it? You know, like then I'm not putting out a good interview. I'm not taking in what you're saying. And this forces me to be present. And I think the same with improv. And it just kind of gives you, I feel like you should always just be willing to fall flat on your face and see what happens.
Yes. I completely agree. I didn't do a lot of, funny enough, I didn't do a lot of improv in any professional standing, but when COVID hit, all of my friends are wacky, creative, lovable individuals. And one of my friend's moms has a house in Sherman Oaks, but she lives on the East Coast most of the time. So during COVID, she was back on the East Coast. So we used her house to like hang by the pool and like gather everybody. And she has like a nice sized living room that we kind of pushed the furniture out of and did a shitload of improv during COVID, just like as friends, which is truthfully like my only real improv experience. I've never done a groundlings class. I've never done a UCB class, but I remember going, even in the friend circle, what a rush.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a rush.
Well, and what's crazy, like when you came over here for a game night, all those people we met in improv 10 years ago. And so that's why, so that's why game night is so fun.
That's why they're all funny. Yeah. Now I know why they're all funny. I remember sitting down and going, wow, everybody's so funny. I better sharpen this wit.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think, and that
we were harmonizing. Do you remember?
Yes. Oh my God. That's so funny.
Oh my God. I was like, this is a baptism by fire into this.
It truly is. Like, come over. We're going to make you do a 5-part harmony right now.
I was like, oh man, I am stretching.
I forgot about that. That is so funny. Well, speaking of making things funny, and like going into the comedy world of things, the movies that you chose were The Nice Guys and The Other Guys. Oh, and The Nice Guys, obsessed. And that is only way I can watch an action movie because the comedy breaks it up.
Yes, I agree.
If it was all just like an action drama, I would have been like throwing up. I would have been like, this is too much for me. And watching it while I'm playing Candy Crush the whole time to like distract me. But I was dying laughing. And there were so many times Ryan Gosling and I would have the same exact reaction to something that would happen. Like at the same time, he'd be like this.
Yeah. And I think I know the moment you're talking about. Yes, I'm so obsessed with that movie.
Just so good.
It is, in my opinion, one of the greatest movies ever made. Oh, well, it's a perfect movie, start to finish. For me, it is Shane Black's magnum opus. Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe have some of the best on-screen chemistry. And Gosling is so funny.
He's such an underrated comedic actor.
So the sequence in the bathroom stall with the door and the cigarette and the magazine, like that's so hard. Yeah. Like that could be compared to some of the physical comedians of yesteryear back in the 50s and 60s. Like that is really hard to do. And he's not known for this stuff. Right. Like the physical comedians of, back in the day. Like he this is his like first foray into that medium kind of, sort of, Like he's a dramatic actor for the most part up until this point. I just thought which I find it partly, especially with Russell Crowe as well. I mean, they're some of the best dramatic actors working today, and they crushed this comedy. And I just felt so inspired by the choices and what Ryan Gosling was kind of willing to do. Like they took some serious risks in terms of their performance and kept it grounded. And it was just so good. I watch it all the time.
It's the type of movie that like really inspires you to be like, oh, I want to do this. Like, come on, put me in, coach.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
It was sort of kind of because I was watching that before Caroline showed me New Girl and then The Other Guys, as well as this, which is the other movie I was saying I love to watch all the time. And it's these films where you're seeing Mark Wahlberg as another action drama actor. It's so interesting to see the branching out and how well people are doing it. And you can just, one of the reasons I love is I can always tell, or I feel like I can always tell when an actor is having a good time.
Yes.
Like they're playing the role, but I can tell, like you can tell different speed, you know what I mean? Not a comedy, but you can tell that Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight is having a good time.
Right.
He is owning those moments. And I think you can tell with the nice guys, you can tell that Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe are loving showing up to work every day.
What I loved about that movie, though, is everything kind of felt like it was supposed to be an outtake. You were like, yeah, you're watching and then the chunk of the bit happens and you're like, it just all feels like it wasn't supposed to make the movie, but it did. And it's amazing. And then the ending, usually I don't love endings like that where it doesn't feel like the payoff, like justice wasn't served. Like, spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen this movie, don't listen anymore. But you know, they turn the people in and they're like, so they got away with it. And then they're just like drinking a beer. And I'm like, wait, what?
Yes.
But usually I hate movies like that where I'm like, I just watched this whole fucking thing for nothing to happen. Like, I get so mad. But for this movie, it made perfect sense and it made it even funnier that they like literally went through all of that. To be like, well, we'll get them next time.
It is the perfect way to end that type of story. And the genius, the writing is just genius. The callbacks when he falls the first time for anybody, like being drunk at that Hollywood party.
Yeah.
And he goes, how did you get down here? He goes, did you fall? And then at the very end, when he gets tackled off of the roof of a hotel into a pool below and shows up where Russell Crowe is, and Russell Crowe goes, holy shit, did you fall again? And Ryan Gosling's I think I'm invincible line is just, I was rolling on the ground laughing.
Yeah. Yeah. He's just like such a lovable idiot in that movie, but like so great.
It's pretty amazing the charm with which he plays these roles. I'm obsessed with him as an actor. I think he's so phenomenal in everything he does.
Absolutely. I'm so excited for the Barbie movie to come out.
Oh, I mean, I think he's going to win an Oscar for playing Ken. I'm calling it right now on this podcast.
Amazing.
I'm at the very least the nomination.
Yeah.
I'm calling it right. We can backtrack and time stamp date this moment, but I'm calling it right now.
That is so funny. And then like with the other guys, that movie is just, I mean, the one thing I quote from that movie all the time is anytime I get hurt or like stub my toe or like trip or whatever, I scream, I need an MRI, because that moment when the place blows up and Will Ferrell is leaving and falls on his back, he's just like rocking back and forth. He's like, I need an MRI. I don't know why that stuck with me. I laughed so hard. I was like dry heaving in that moment in the theater.
I can't tell you how much I love what you said entering into that conversation, because how I feel about that movie is that it is the most quotable film I've ever seen. My roommates and I will quote that movie at least once every single day. It drives Caroline crazy, I think. Like literally, like I think this morning someone was like, and it's just so obscure, but like we know it so well because as a friend group we watched it so many times. But this morning someone was like, no, I'll grab you that, but I can't do drinks. Can't do it. No drinks. You know, when they're in the beginning of the film when the hot dog vendor's like, free food for life, no drinks though. I can't do it. Can't do it.
Yeah,
it is so unbelievably hysterically written. The TLC stuff, I mean,
it's great. It's so good. It's so good.
So
and
funny.
He's like just denying that he's quoting it the entire time. It's so good.
Oh yeah, I can't tell you how much we quote the because you shot Derek Jeter.
Yeah,
you know. Bobby Cannavale is so good.
Oh man,
oh my
I know.
God! I was like, how'd you feel? Like a Viagra pill with a face. I was like, this is the greatest line of all time. It's so good.
I know. It's so good. I have to watch comedy, like action comedies like that, because I'd rather be laughing throughout the whole movie than be like, oh my God, the entire time. Because I'm the person in the theater that's like in Scary Movie when everybody like was like so happy that girl died in the movie theater because she like wouldn't stop screaming at the screen. Like that is me. Like there would be people in the audience be like, oh, thank God she left, because I mean, even Caroline and I went to go see Bullet Train together, and I left there. I was like, are you mad at me? She was like, no, I was just really stressed out and you were really stressed out.
Yeah, she does not like to be stressed either. You guys should not go to those movies together.
Oh no, I was squeezing
your vibrations
her arm.
are causing dissonance.
Yeah, I was squeezing her arm the whole time, and then I was so vocal, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." Like, but
That's so funny.
was terrified.
I'm the opposite vocality, by the way. Like I'm always the person in the theater. I think it's so funny because I think Caroline always leans over and goes, okay, seriously. Because I'll be watching a movie and go, oh my God. Like, that is me. I will get so invested and be like, oh, holy shit. Like,
yeah.
I'll do that all the time.
And I do it in my own house when I'm alone too. Even watching 911.
Oh, for sure.
When I was watching your 911 episode, I was like, oh shit. Like literally walking around my house, just going like, okay, nope, he's about to die. Someone's about to die. Like, you guys are idiots. But then I'll also have to like make a joke about it. Like, when there was somebody that was definitely about to die, I was like, well, that's not going to be fun for you. Or like, finally, at least this kid will shut up now. Like, I have to say these horrible things out loud to make it unreal.
I would love if I need to see a movie with you in the theater. I feel like
I mean, you and Caroline should go see a movie.
We all should, because now I need to experience. I think your level and my level, I think Caroline would just implode, maybe. You know what I mean? If we put her in the middle and you were like cracking jokes and I'm like, oh shit. Oh,
she'd be gone.
She would be.
Should get your own ride home, guys. That's
she'd leave us to our little mumbles in the theater.
That is so funny. So is there a character that you channel in your hard times?
In my hard times,
or just in your daily,
like in my day to day?
You know, sometimes I always will switch out of, like, I say it on here a lot when I'm going through, like, I'm like, I just got to get this shit done. It's Fiona Gallagher all the time. Or,
oh my God, I love that.
When I'm at work, it's Rachel Green, because I'm, in customer service and pretending to be really good at a job. And Caroline had said it was Charlize Theron in Mad Max. And, so it's a lot of, and then there's times like, I also have to like romanticize life if it gets boring or mundane, or just I feel like meh. Or, last night my Spectrum kept going out. So I would just like look to the invisible camera and be like, really? Like I do
breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah, all the time.
I love that. I think I definitely it's so funny because I have to answer this as honestly as I can.
Do it.
Just for my own sake, is that honestly, I think I am considered by my friends and Caroline and my family to be the most dramatic person that any of them have ever met. I'll put it to you this way, okay? I was literally joking about this last night. One of my roommates goes, I shit you not, he goes, you have all of the bad qualities of a good actor. And I went, you think I'm a good actor? Which of course teed me up for the joke of the fucking year.
Oh, but man.
I say this because my mom, when I was growing up, was always like, oh my God, Cam, you're having a movie. Because I would react so dramatically to anything that didn't seemingly go my way. I wasn't like a terror of a child. I would just be like, oh, hand on my forehead, like, oh, I can't go on. I can't go on any further. Go on without me. Tell my family I love them. Yeah. Like that's the energy I'm talking about. It's not like an ugly energy, but it is, I can't remember what the movie was we were watching. Oh, it was This Is Where I Leave You, which, by the way, if you haven't seen that, so brilliant.
Wait, did I just watch that with Jason Bateman?
Yep, and Tina Fey.
I just watched it. And I loved it.
Those are my favorite types of movies where it's so funny and so heartfelt all in the same moment. You're just dealing with real stuff, real people, real relationships, complicated scenarios, and then you're laughing about it. Oh, it's so great. But there's a line in there that associates with what my mom said, where I think Jane Fonda's character says, oh my God, you're doing a play, which is the same sentiment that Caroline now quotes to me all the time in my catastrophic day to day. So I think, to your question, I have to say I'm just channeling all of the dramatic actors at one time.
That is so funny. And I'm absolutely going to use that.
I'm making fun of myself as much as I can here, but there is some serious truth to my catastrophizing of almost every situation I get in.
Where do you think that comes from? Why do you think you catastrophize so much? Are you just like kind of trying to, like, is it a defense mechanism so you're not let down?
I think it is. I also noticed that, like, I move on really quickly. You know, I don't know if it adds to my dramatic personality or it actually helps in the sense that, like, I don't bottle anything up. Like if something happens, I'll be like, oh my God. Anyway, so what I was saying was, and you know what I mean? Like, it's so, I think on the outside, it can probably look like, what is this kid doing? But I think what it feels on the inside is that there's no bottling. Like, I don't have any like carried baggage inside me, you know, that I'm holding on to. Like, I could get in an argument and then ask you to go to lunch with me 5 minutes later. You know what I mean?
The same exact way. I love that.
I think it's a good way to live.
Yeah.
I think we're doing it right. You know,
nobody will ever question how I'm feeling. Yeah. Nobody's ever going to question how I'm feeling. But no one's ever going to question how I feel about them. Like, it is all out in the open for me. My heart's on my sleeve. And again, same thing. It's like, there's a Lorelai quote from Gilmore Girls. She's like, oh, I was just being dramatic. It's what I do. It's like, well, yeah, just let me be really dramatic about this for 5 minutes and then I'll move on and have the best day of my life. But I'm still going to throw a tantrum because I was home for my birthday. I went to the Taylor Swift concert and it was incredible.
Did you buy it on Ticketmaster?
My sister did. But I get fixated, and half of the night I could not stop thinking about, I bought cotton rounds, a brand new thing of cotton rounds. And my sister was like, what are cotton rounds? I'm like, they're the things that you wipe your makeup off with your face. So I'm stressed out the entire time of how am I going to wipe my makeup off later that night? And I'm like, Brittany, why are you so obsessed about cotton rounds right now? And you're so upset about this. Like, this is so stupid. You're at a Taylor Swift concert. And I had to like tell myself millions of times, like, but then once I just like let myself freak out about the cotton rounds and can move on, then I had a great time.
Yeah, I think I found in my therapeutic sessions, you know, off and on when I'm talking to a therapist, one of the things I still hold on to that was like a workable coping mechanism was like, you can feel bad today, but you're not allowed to tomorrow. And I love, like, if I'm having a bad day, instead of pretending like, yeah, I'm great, I'm just gonna be like, nope, today is terrible and it sucks. And I'm going to own that so that when I wake up tomorrow, I'm not holding on to any of that suckage. It's done now. So instead of trying to kind of squash it and then slowly move on and let that slowly dissipate, I just open up the bag. It all falls out. There's nothing left in there.
I love that.
You know? Yeah.
My one of my old therapists would say, like, you have to feel it to heal it. And it sounds so cheesy, but it's so true because, you know, another quote, what you resist persists. Like, if you keep trying to push it down and keep trying to be like, no, but it's okay, then you're just like feeding a disease, basically. And I'm more on the expelling train, you know, sweat it out, get rid of it. Cause especially in our business, like especially in what we want to do, because there is so much. Like, I remember Dustin Hoffman sitting on inside the actor studio. He must have been like, I want to say 60 something at the time. So he'd been doing it for acting for quite some time, but he's not, this is years ago. And he said that he's like, if I got a yes every single day from where I'm sitting right now to like the end of my career or when I die, I will still have more no's. That is Dustin Hoffman. Right.
And it's just such a good perspective to have, because we got to let it roll off. Like, you got to find a way. You know, one of the things people talk about that's such a counterintuitive notion is that we as actors are supposed to develop tough skin. And at the very same time, we're in class learning how to flick wounds open so that we can pour our hearts out in the hopes that somebody's going to watch this and be moved by it or entertained or whatever, you know? And it's so funny because both of those things feed the opposite expectation a little bit, right? So I think I spent a lot of years being like, how am I supposed to develop tough skin when I'm literally in class weekly figuring out how to let my emotions go. And I think I kind of was like, wait, why let these things be different or opposite when they can just move in the same direction? Why doesn't the tough skin just mean I feel these things and let them go? And it's actually tough of me to feel these things and then let them go.
Hell yeah, it is.
I was like, instead of having them go the opposite sides of traffic, I kind of in my mind put them in the same lane, go in the same direction. I was like, wait, these can support each other and they don't have to feel so opposite. And to me, it's been helpful, to like for mental health purposes to keep yourself in a healthy space. Cause you can slip.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us slip into some dark holes, whether it's roles that take you there, whether it's lack of roles that take you there, and like, we got to find our footing or life will feel hard.
Right. Right. What is the one thing that really helps you stay balanced with doing that?
I definitely I think watching stuff is nice. I do find inspiration from seeing other people do it, whether it's a play or a groundling show or stand-up comedy or a movie or whatever. I also just feel like I have to be. Paul Newman said once that he wasn't always the right actor for every story. So if he wanted to tell a story and be involved in a story, he would be involved in whichever capacity that story allowed him to be, whether it was writing or directing or acting or producing or whatever. It didn't have to be, or supporting his wife, who was a wonderful actress, or a friend or whatever. It didn't matter. And I kind of feel like I've started making films for myself, independent features or shorts with friends, or I'm writing, or like, I find that what keeps me going is like, okay, as long as I'm a part of some story in some capacity, it feels pretty good to be a part of that summer camp, being on set, even if it's the short for a day. I think trying to stay involved in other people's lives takes the spotlight off of myself.
Yeah. That's so true. And especially in the world of social media, there are so many times we compare ourselves to others.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And to me, I'm like, okay, I see all the things that you've had so much success in the past year, and you have done.
Yeah. Thank you. I feel so grateful.
I mean, you've done incredible parts, and like 2 episodes here, 2 episodes on here, and like being a part of these really incredible shows and getting some meaty, juicy parts that are so perfect for you. And I wanted to know, because from the outside looking in, it's like, wow, you're booking. And like, this is your time. But obviously we don't see the things you don't get or the disappointments. And that's not to dim anything you've done, but as actor to actor and person to person, how do you deal with the disappointment of it?
Honestly, like, one, it's been helpful to find, for me, like, at least, I don't know what other people would say, but one, it's been helpful to find a strength in what I'm doing, whether I do or don't get it. So I have to say that, like, to get the role, like, there's no room anymore, right? So it's all self-tape. And for me, I was like, okay, the major anxiety becomes like, is this good? Is this reading? I can't feel the energy of a room. Is this terrible? Because I think you're worried you'll send a self-tape out and never hear from that casting director ever again. Or you take like a wild swing or whatever. But it's been helpful to, like, Caroline, I don't tape with anybody else.
She's great.
I've had some of my roommates have to step in if Caroline's not available, but like, she is a major influence as to why I'm getting those jobs, because she knows my bullshit. We have a shorthand. Like, I know that I am sending in work that feels to me acceptable. And I know that she's not going to let me send anything in that's unacceptable. Like, we'll tape it again if we got to tape it again. But even with that being said, I will say, like, the rejection, it never goes away. Like, I think what is interesting about the rejection, I was talking to a friend about this the other day, when you actually kind of extrapolate it and pull back, there's so many things you want right in the moment that afterwards you're like, oh yeah, like, I did read for that. And then you watch it and go, oh yeah, no, I wouldn't have been right. you know, or it turns out bad and you're like, what a bullet dodged, or, you know, this wasn't my thing. Like, it's so funny that you want everything, but in actuality, like if I'm actually being legit on, okay, gun to your head, do you want this role? For the most part, no. Which is so weird because you're so grateful to have a read. You're so grateful to have an audition, and you want to work. But I think when you don't get something, it's very rare actually that I've sat down, watched it and gone, damn. The only time that's really happened in recent memory for me is when I sat down and watched Top Gun. I auditioned for that a couple of times and I was like, shit, that's a miss.
Yeah. But,
you know, but for the most part, you're actually like, oh, that really was somebody else's role or what have you. I think where it ends up coming to the forefront is just the patience game for me, that becomes so exhausting to remain patient. Like, yes, it's a virtue. I don't have that virtue. I try to develop it, but I think I've worked with people that are really, really good. And I think the stipulation is sort of, you know, well, I'm a guest star and, you know, you're here to support the lead actor, the number one on the call sheet, whoever you're in the scene with. And I remember I was shooting a show last year and I was working with an incredibly prolific actor who, I can't say what it is at this point in time, but he was nominated for an Academy Award. And you're sitting in a scene with this person and you're doing the scene and then he's improvising and you're improvising and you're throwing each other curveballs and you're just doing this dance, right? And this person has worked for 30 plus years, multiple award nominations. And then here you are taking up as much space. Actually, the way the scene's written, I'm technically in the driver's seat. So I was the moment the number one on the call, she gives you permission to improv, you know, like do your homework, come to set prepared, really, you know, really want to drive some kind of character notion home, throw curveballs, whatever. That when we finished the scene, he came up to me and he was like, not a lot of actors will take their time. Not a lot of young actors will take their time. Good for you. And what you kind of leave with, one, you're like, oh my God, this is like the greatest thing ever. This person just did a good job. Holy shit. You know, but you're also, there's a part of you, there's good ego and bad ego. And I think I'm working on both of those. I think we all have our own struggles there. But one of the things I did leave that set with was, oh my God, I can do this job. I just delivered a scene with someone who's campaigning for an Academy Award, and he just came up to me and went, good job, kid. That is where you struggle, because then it could take you 50 years to get to the number one on the call sheet. So I think what you end up working against is this patience that you really have to advocate for yourself. That, you know, you got to take deep breaths and go, okay, it will happen if I stay. Bryan Cranston in his memoir, it's a catch-22, but I love the sentiment. He said, those who don't quit will make it, and those who didn't make it quit. And it's like, well, yeah, but the sentiment really is, if you hang around, I'll see you at the show, you know? Right. And I think I am trying to desperately learn that is true. And I think to your question, those in-between moments, it's when it gets hard to be patient. It's when you're waiting for somebody to watch the screener of your indie movie and it's taken 3.5 weeks and you don't want to bother them, but they said they were going to watch it. And you're kind of like, man, if everybody just responded like that, I would be so much farther along. You're at the mercy of others when you're an actor. And I think even when you're making your own projects, you feel that a little bit. And you want people to see what your acting coach sees or your girlfriend sees or your best friend sees, because they believe in you. And sometimes they believe in you more than you believe in yourself. But I think for me, I'm really trying to hold on to the fact that like, this will happen if I stay diligent, if I keep working hard, if I stay curious, if I stay positive. And that for me is what I am definitely trying to keep in mind every time I get a no. Is like, okay, next one.
Right. You know, I had somebody tell me, because I was having this exact same conversation, and he was like, if you order a package right now on Amazon and it says it'll be to you in 72 hours, are you going to keep opening up the door every day? Oh, it's not here yet. It's not here yet. It told you it would be here in 72 hours. So trust that it will be there in 72 hours, because the more you're having this desperation of where is it? Where is it? I want it now. I want it now. It probably got sent to your neighbor's store and you're never going to get it because you're telling the universe you don't trust it. So it's kind of, as to what you were saying, it's like, are you an amazing actor? Are you a good person? Are you putting in the work? Yes. So it's going to happen. You just have to trust it. You just have to trust that when it's for you, it is for you and not for anybody else. And stars align perfectly. And it's just like a zipper in a groove. And then boom, there you are. Yeah.
And it's so beautiful that you said it that way, because the truth of that is the struggle we all have is just believing that is true. Like I think we know it in our, subconscious mind, but the conscious mind takes over and starts to get very, very noisy.
Right.
And you're working against yourself a lot of the time, because honestly, it's like your phone. Like this is the other thing I've been doing that I find helpful. I don't look at my phone. I've been pushing it more and more and more. Where I'm up to, which is so psycho that I have to say I'm up to, as if it's like a fucking workout. And I'm trying to put more miles on my shoes. You know what I mean? But I am trying to not look at my phone for the first 45 minutes of every day, because I don't need to be hit with 18 micro stressors about some Instagram post that I'm jealous of a friend who booked this thing and I love that show and I didn't even fucking audition. So, now I'm pissed at my manager for not sending me out, even though maybe they called and I don't know, because again, actors spend all their lives learning about the craft and we don't know shit about the business side. So you never know if you can email your manager or not. And then you don't want to offend them and make them feel like they're not doing their job. And then you get an email that you didn't get a role. So now you're upset about that. And you have a missed call from someone you don't want to talk to. Like I can't start my day like that anymore.
Yeah.
And I am trying to be good about, I will wake up, lay in bed for a second, get water, get coffee, throw the blinds open on my window, look outside, just kind of for no reason.
Yeah.
Sit down, ponder, think about this. Maybe I'll read a little bit. You know what I mean? And then pick up my phone, because the moment I hit unlock, that's when the floodgates open up.
Absolutely. I totally get it. I think we all think these things are specific to us, when actually we're all going through the exact same thing, but people just don't want to talk about it, which is why I love having the show, because it's like, this is exactly how I feel. Like I woke up this morning and checked my phone and I'm like, all of a sudden I'm sitting there laying in bed for another 30 minutes. Like, what is wrong with me? Why am I doing this? And then I beat myself up for doing it. And then I get mad at myself. You're a piece of shit. That's why you're not doing anything unique or special, because you decided to spend an extra, like, it's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. It definitely,
and it hurts. It hurts. It hurts really. It's like, yes, it's ridiculous. And of course you're right. You end up talking in such a negative way, and like it's just it's so much extra shit on top of what we're already dealing with. And I think for me, I just gotta try to find a way to unplug from the world a little bit sometimes, like recharge the battery. I've moved out here 8 years ago. It'll be 9 in August. So I'm almost at the decade, you know what I mean? And it's so wild how much has changed and how much just hasn't. So much of this is the exact same gamut. Your agent calls, you get a audition. Now you're putting it on tape instead of going in the room. And then you fucking hear nothing. Like you never heard anything anyway. You know what I mean? It's like, but the differences sometimes I do notice, or the growth comes from things that normally aren't career oriented. Like I have better friends now. My first kind of round of friends was competitive as fuck and would not send each other any kudos or anything. In fact, it felt weird to tell people you had an audition because you felt they were going to go call their manager and say, hey, I heard about this role. Can you get me in for it? Versus now my friends will be like, hey man, did you read for this thing? I'm like, oh no, I didn't. Oh, here's the sides, dude. Put yourself on tape.
Yep. Exactly.
I've helped friends with auditions that I've had. Like Caroline put me on tape for an audition. And then a friend of mine was like, hey, I need to read this audition. And I was like, oh shit, I just auditioned for this. You put them on tape and you better fucking believe I give them notes. Hey, this isn't reading.
Right.
Like you need I think the good positive changes are never in the career orientation because the problems just become new problems. Like, yeah, you want the guest star and then you get the series regular, right? And then your next issue is like, oh my God, he got nominated for the award and I didn't.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like they just change, you know what I mean? So it's really I'm finding that I'm finding a lot of solace in the people around me and the friends that I've developed and meeting new people. Cause I truthfully, I think at the end of the day, I want Adam Sandler's career. I want to make films and be in charge.
Adam?
Yes. Right. I want to be in charge the way he is. And all he does is hire his friends who he believes in. And they look like they have the greatest time. And he's probably had one of the best 40+ year careers. Right. And all he's done is make the stuff he wants to make with the people he loves spending time with already. Like that is I'm like, that is goals, man. That's goals.
Yeah. And I really love that. And I think that's so true of I look too at what has changed in my life. Cause I've been out here for almost 11, 12 years now.
Oh, and yes,
I know. So, and I look and I'm like, a lot of my friends we've all been friends for 10+ years. It's crazy, but my relationships have gotten stronger with these people. And
that's beautiful. We've
all seen each other through the highest highs and the lowest of lows, but it feels like we have this little club that is just and there's the most welcoming group of people in the entire world too. And, a lot of people when they meet, if somebody from quote unquote the outside comes in who's not an actor or hasn't been around my group of friends before, they text me the next day they are all so nice, they're so fun. And they
really are, by the way. That game night great. I was like, God damn, these are great people.
And I think again that's something I'm super proud of. And it's haven't booked anything in a really long time. I know I will. It's a matter of time. And that's the thing, we're playing the long game here. It's not. Yeah, we
are running a marathon, and so many people that we love. I think what we end up missing, or what ends up feeling hard, at least in my opinion, on that notion, is that when you lose years in terms of clawing at a career, what you struggle with, or what I struggle with sometimes, is man, I started this when I was 22, 21. Was when I moved out here. I had the little stint with the New York self-tape kind of a thing, but it got put on pause by Roe until I came out here, because again, self-taping was not a thing yet. But I remember being damn, I learned very quickly, oh, I'll never play Peter Parker. I'll never be in high school. And then, COVID, you lose all these years and you go, oh shit, I'll never do coming of age college. And then eventually you'll lose young heartthrob, or you feel this loss of, oh, I can't play this character anymore. But there are so many other characters that are coming for you.
Right.
That are probably more interesting and more dynamic and more fun and have more, look at Bryan Cranston.
Right.
He's fine wine, that one, and I think that the important thing to remember is that there are so many juicier parts the older we get. We're the opposite of athletes.
Right. Exactly. That's so true. I know. I'm still completely devastated. I've never gotten to say hi, I'm Brittany Rizzo when you're watching Disney Channel, but
you can go eventually.
Still. I know, right? I
can
play.
I can be the wand right now doing the little mouse thing. Oh my God.
I'm going to make it fucking happen.
Dude, I will champion and support that. I'm putting it in the universe right.
That's all I ever wanted. And when I missed that boat, Like when I got a job on Disney Channel.
Decom, baby. Decom.
I know.
Let's go.
I know. All right, Cam, I have taken up so much of your time. This has been a lot of fun. It's kind of flown by, actually.
I'm so grateful that you texted Caroline, because she was like, hey, do you want to do this thing? And I secretly was kind of like, I mean, yeah, like, of course, when she did her show, I was like, oh, that seems super fun. Like, was it fun? Was it fun? Like, how fun was it? Was it a good time? It felt like it was a good time. Like, I became, see, you see how dramatic I am, dude. Yeah. Like, this is my life. This is literally what people are talking about that see me on a day-to-day basis. I honestly thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be able to like sit down and chat with you. You are an incredible moderator. I love that I've met you through Caroline and have, the privilege to call you a friend. And this is such a cool thing that you're doing.
Thank you so much. That means so much to me. Like, it genuinely makes me so happy to and also like having this conversation with you. Like, we've been in the same group multiple times. We've had some one-on-one time, but we've never got to like sit and really deep dive into a lot of things. And this was just so fun. It was so fun.
It's nice because I feel like I know you so much better now that we've had this moment to just like, it's so funny. All it takes is like an hour and I can leave this and go, I know her. Right. We connect on that. Like, I know parts of her being because we connected on this, or we found this same thing funny. Like, it's so important. Like you said, I love what you said when you said, I don't think about the next question. Like, I went into this going, oh man, I hope I answer things right. Or I hope I am interesting or not a fucking moron or like, whatever. And
trust me, I never
when we logged on. Yeah. But right when we logged on, I was like, all that went right out the window. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I never have any fucking clue how any of this is going to go down. Like, ever.
Kind of awesome. Like, we're at the top of that black diamond, like, all right, time to ski down.
Yeah, exactly. Before we go, I want to ask, what is the most useful piece of advice you've gotten for your mental health, or that you would give to somebody for their mental health?
I think I got two parts to this.
Boom, let's do it.
One, the mental health in terms of career. Mm-hmm. I would say one of the best things is change nervous to excited. Mm-hmm. You are not going to the fucking dentist when you're going into a casting office, when you're going to set. I have become so empowered by just being fucking stoked to be there. Mm-hmm. It's insane how much I'm so much more free. I don't carry tension in my body the same way. And man, oh man, I'll leave set sometimes. And of course we all have the like, oh, I blew it, but I will leave like, didn't love that, but we took a swing. We tried something. Let's see how it edits together. Like, it changes your perception a little bit of like what you're capable of doing. If you're excited and you're like, yeah, let's try this. And then I'll do this thing. Like, it actually really sends great endorphin rushes into your body, because now you're not anxious. And what's interesting is that it's an acting coach lesson, that change nervous to excited, because apparently like whatever dopamine, serotonin level, whatever, it's the same receptor. Mm-hmm. Nervous and excited are the same. It's just our perception in our minds is what shifts it to feel fluttery versus downtrodden and horrible. But if you can flip your mental capacity, then your receptors aren't doing anything differently. So it's actually a really easy tangential move. Mm-hmm. And that has freed me up. And then I think on the mental health thing, I really do feel like listening has been just a wonderful, like, listen, stop, look someone in the eye. Don't worry about what you're going to say next, because then you're not going to beat yourself up. I can't remember somebody's name the first time they introduced themselves, because I'm so worried about the first impression that I'm going to make. Mm. But if I just stop and listen and don't worry about what I'm going to say, and I remember their name, I feel so good about myself. I feel like I've accomplished something because now I'm making them feel better. Because I really do feel like people go, oh, he remembers my name. Like, that's so cool. Mm-hmm. Like, or when someone's saying, hey, you're doing this thing, like in a relationship, it's so much healthier to go, okay, I am doing that thing, because you're listening. You're not waiting to talk. So I think mental health wise, that has been a huge thing I'm I'm trying to work on and keep in perspective. It's sort of like this podcast, just listening.
Right.
No stress.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I noticed that's a big thing with a lot of my guests is we all say just getting outside of yourself and listening to somebody else. It helps in so many aspects of your life. And David DeLuise had said to bring it back to Lord of the Rings, that was his episode. He had said, call a friend and ask them, hey, how are you? When you're going through a really hard time, call them up and say, hey, how are you? And listen to what they're going through. Don't call them up and go, oh, this happened. Like, just ask somebody how they are and see how that just like changes your overall mindset and mood. And it truly has helped me a lot to take that on. So
I love that too. I think that's a great way to also work through something, because you might be working through a similar thing. You might find that by asking someone else and getting out of your own way, you realize, oh, they're giving me a perspective on something that I'm also struggling with that I didn't think about.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Which has happened multiple times in this conversation with things that you've said. I'm like, oh my God, yes. Like that is.
I feel it too. You've said some things where I'm like, I know. You're so right, Brittany.
Oh my gosh, I'm a peacock. You gotta let me fly.
Yeah, I'm a peacock. You gotta know that that's TLC. Honestly, do you know? As we come to an end here, just don't go chasing waterfalls.
Yeah, just gonna creep.
You have to know that that's TLC. Despite my facial hair, shaped.
Okay, Cam, this was so much fun. Thank you again for being on
thanks,
here.
Britt.
Have a happy Easter and have a good day.
You too. I'll see you soon.
Wait, tell people what you're going to be on next or whether they could find you or in like your Instagram.
My Instagram is just my full name, Cameron Cowperthwaite. And then the next thing that's coming out, I can't say what it is, but it's an Apple television show.
Yes.
I think it's in the
Easter
summer.
Sunday.
Let's go. I think it's in the summer, but I'm sure I'll obsessively post too many things about it. But again, it's just because
you know what? Post away.
It's so great. I'm so grateful and happy.
This town is so hard, and we work so hard, and we're so hard on ourselves. When we accomplish something, post the fuck away. Like literally, and everybody in your life, like you said, everybody should be doing the same thing for you. It's a huge accomplishment to do anything in this town. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. And I feel the same way. It's just, I think everybody in my circle is always so grateful and humbled and thankful that they get something that it's infectious, it rubs off. Like, you're just like, oh my God, thank you. Mm-hmm. And I do feel like everybody's time will come, and I'm just here for the long haul to watch it all happen for everybody else too. You know what I mean? I think it's so cool. Like when Caroline booked She-Hulk, I was like, let's go.
Right.
Let's go. Like it's sick, it's a really cool thing to see, because you know how much it means to everybody when it happens.
Right.
So.
Right. Exactly.
We just got to keep on keeping on.
There you go. I'm Brittany Rosone. You're watching Disney Channel.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. Okay. Bye. Happy Easter.
Bye. Bye.